Welcome to Colombia! Welcome, wonderful people all over the world. My name is Frank, I'm Swiss, and I run a travel agency in Bogota, Colombia. And today I'm going to introduce you Nicole! She's one of our star guides here in Bogota, and she's also architect. So the topic for today is architecture in Bogota. And there is actually much more than just La Candelaria, the historical part. There is so much about architecture all over Bogota because it's also a very big city and had a lot of time for development. And because I know nothing about it, I will hand over the microphone to Nicole and she will introduce herself and tell us everything interesting today. Thank you, Nicole, for being with us.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the lovely introduction. So, guys, welcome to Bogota. We're going to be taking a tour today on one of the most wonderful unknown areas of our city, that is Teusaquillo. Also, we will be seeing other features and special places. We will be discovering that later. Hello, my name is Nicole Vileikis. I'm a tour guide and an architect. Today I'll be taking you around some unknown areas of Bogota. Besides Candelaria, we will be talking about architecture, the amazing features that you can find on these areas of the city. And you're going to learn how to observe and pay attention to details in architecture. I hope you enjoy. So this is the area of Teusaquillo. It's going to be one of those first areas where in Bogota, we are not going to have the colonial style anymore. We're going to have a renewal of the city and new developments. We're going to have the Rio Arzobispo on this side, and we're going to also design the part of the city that has to do with the beautiful city or the garden city. It's going to be one of the principles that modernism is going to bring to our city in the 40s. And that's how we're going to end up having a space like this one with a linear park. It's going to be the core design and the spine, let's say, where we're going to start developing the city. That's how we're going to end up with really big lots, very fancy houses. It's going to be an elite area. And nowadays, it has become a cultural place. We're going to be seeing some of these features around the path. Also, we're going to be seeing certain details in architecture that I would like that you guys learn to see. Every time that you get closer to a building, it's not just bricks and concrete. So if you pay attention, for example, you can also find things like this one on the back, which is that amazing brick building where you can see the interlaced of the bricks, but also how this stiff material can create something as subtle and beautiful as the curves in the upper side. Many of these works are going to be from the late 50s, 60s, and the last period of modernism developed here in Bogota in the 70s. So for having a better idea of what is this concept of the garden city or the beautiful city, it's going to be a principle that is going to be applied in modernism. So we're going to see how they apply them here in the parkway. We're going to see how the greenery, the open spaces are going to be kind of like an indicator of how life was going to be developed, how people are going to use these spaces for gathering, and it's going to be more like for the eternal community. Nowadays, that has changed because now we can find people that they come to have fun. They can come, for example, to some cultural venues, like for example, theaters, and other places where people are starting to develop arts, not only in terms of painting or sculpture, but also acting or also music. We're going to find that in spaces like this one, now the city has found kind of like a bohemian retreat somehow. That's how the housing is going to change. It's not going to be anymore just this Pacific area that used to be very elite, but it's going to become a mixed use area. We're going to find really interesting spaces for offices. We're going to find some cultural venues and housing for mainly students and people that are more like into arts.
Hey Colombia traveler! Do not miss out on the great additional information we always provide below in the description sections of all our videos. Now back to the video.
So one of the features that we're going to find also refer to how the city is going to be developed has to do with piedra muñeca or piedra bogotana. It's going to be this kind of cladding that we're going to use that look yellow. If you pay attention, you will find this in many buildings around the city, not only in this area, but also in downtown. It's going to mark a type of architecture in an era, because basically today we don't use it any longer. So we're going to find that it's a very porous type of stone, kind of like limestone, and it's going to be very delicate. That's why the graffiti can really damage in it. Still, you can see how versatile can it be and how beautiful it can be worked. So we can have it either in its natural state or we can put it into little mosaics around. So there's something really important about the design in urbanism, about the time of modern times. We're going to have a willingness for more open spaces, greenery in the cities, and that's how we're going to design also the city in a way that greenery is going to be all over. We're going to find that there's the street for the cars, we're going to have a division where we're going to have greenery, then we're going to have the pedestrian area, and then we're going to design these front gardens for the houses. Then they're going to be complemented with gardens inside. So that is going to give us, from an above view, a very green area, full of gardens and fresh air. Over here, we're going to find certain details that can tell us how that relationship with nature was so important. We're going to see how in the living room, we're going to end up having these kind of windows that are going to work as a greenhouse somehow, because they're going to bring the exterior to the interior through the position of pot plants for having there your most favorite plants. So we're going to find a hidden treasure that I have, which is this house that is neo-colonial style, although it's from 1949. What we're going to find is something really unique. Some of the features that you expect to see in downtown Candelaria. Like, for example, that woodwork on the upside, the arches also made with stone, and one very particular detail, which is the slab that tells us about the architect and the year of construction. That's why this house is so particular in this place. Over here we're going to find in the opposite corner a very modern house. This one is from 1950 and is going to have a very different type of components. We're going to find a building on this side, on the corner, and coming around this side, you can see and identify there's a house, plus a smaller one that we will be seeing in just 1 second. Come with me. So over here we can find one of the exterior houses, the second one, and behind is where we were seeing the building. Like that, you can see that we have a composition in just one corner with multiple houses. So we are now in the area of La Merced. It's going to be one of those very rare areas where you can feel in Europe. This is going to be one of those places that is going to be developed in the 40s, where the architecture of Tudor style is going to be dominant. It's going to be an area for elite people, but at the same time, the times are going to change. And these houses are going to stop being what they used to be. Nowadays, you can find institutions like universities, or for example, the local government of other departments. We call them departamentos in our internal division. So try to think about a state. So we have here the House of Antioquia, the House of Huila, some of the important departamentos that we have in Colombia. At the same time, you're going to see how the air and flair of England is going to take over this area. So behind me, we have the Colegio San Bartolomé de la Merced. It's going to be the school that is going to give the name to this part of Bogota. It's part of the Jesuits, and it is the most elite school for mainly boys. Nowadays, we can see that it has become a more busy area, so it's not as quiet as it used to be, and it's not as exclusive because the houses have changed of use. Nowadays, we don't have people inhabiting these areas, but more for institutions and for offices. So we are now in Torres del Parque. It's going to be one of the projects of Rogelio Salmona, a very prominent architect of Bogota, whose work with the bricks is going to be very remarkable. We're going to find over here a project that was designed for lower income people, but eventually living in the outskirts and outside of the city was not an option. So people wouldn't like to come here. Nowadays it has become one of the most reserved areas, and it also has a very beautiful public design. So, talking about the urban design of this area, we're going to find that the public spaces, they flow freely. It's not only for the residents of this group of buildings, but also for the normal people around the city. We're going to find that it's an open space that is going to connect us with nature and with architecture at the same time. So one of the details that we're going to be able to see here is the moment where the architect makes a decision over this public space. Why? Because this is the original level of the enclosement that he wanted to do. But eventually when he's called to put railings in here, he says, no way, I'm not gonna do that. And he decides to just pump up a little bit more the level of this enclosure. At the same time, we can see how these bends, and once more, we see how this very stiff material takes this plasticity and becomes something more fluid inside the city. We are now at the Parque Bavaria. It's going to be one of those developments that is going to start with the change of the city, when the industrial uses are going to disappear from the downtown area and they're going to start moving to the outskirts. They're going to leave spaces like this one for multiple uses. We're going to find that in this building, it's possible to find on the ground floor, commercial area. The second floor is going to be dedicated to offices and housing exclusively in the upper side. That leaves us with this sensation of being in the middle of nature, in the middle of a different space, but so close to downtown. Once we reach the center of the green axis of the complex of Parque Bavaria, we're able to see on the hill Monserrate. We have on the back view some modern buildings that used to belong to the Bavaria company. Nowadays, they make part of a much more larger, interesting area of the city.
So wonderful people all over the world, this is the architecture tour here in Bogota with our lovely guide Nicole. You will see her maybe in different tours also, but if you're looking for an architecture tour here in Bogota, of course we will organize it with Nicole. So consider the next trip to Colombia. It's the greatest country all over the world. I wish you all the best from today's sunny Bogota here in Colombia. Stay healthy wherever you are. All the best. Nicole?
Thank you so much for having me. I hope to see you guys very soon.
Use Colombia, Frank. Bye-bye.